Welcome back once again to another discussion video. I'm once again joined by James Beard. Thank you for joining me again.
Good to be here.
So, for, this video, I guess, I thought it'd be fitting to go back and maybe discuss a little bit about the territory system and Texas wrestling in general. So, I guess the best way to kick it off is would you say that modern fans don't really know about the territories?
Well, let's get further and further away from that. So obviously, a lot of the modern fans, a lot of the people that watch WWE today believe WWE is the only wrestling organization in the world, and they've been here forever. But the truth is that 20 some odd years ago or so, that every part of the country had their own territory and had their own TV and their own heroes, and it's just a different world back then. So I think a lot of the younger fans probably don't understand how that works.
I know a lot of veterans are, very protective of how things used to be, by saying that the business would be better off if kayfabe still existed and it was still the territory system. Do you agree with that, or are you not on that?
Well, I have a feeling about that. I do agree that a certain amount of kayfabe is important, but I think the most important thing is to take yourself seriously. The truth is, there's always been smart fans, always understood that wrestling was partially entertainment, partially sports, that sort of thing. And I don't think that it's anything new that the fans understand how things work to some degree. The difference is that in the territory days, from start to finish, the product was always taken seriously by the people that are doing it and presenting it. And I think what happens now is that they kind of accepted the fact that some of the cat's out of the bag, and so it's okay to just act like it's not real anymore. When you present it on TV from start to finish, they don't take themselves so seriously. It happened back in those days, and I think that's what's missing. Just because you know that it's a work, or that some of it's manipulated, doesn't mean that you don't want to present it as something real. It's just like making a movie, like a TV program. It's drama. You don't wink at the audience. You don't expose that it's not a real story while you're doing it, while you're performing it. You're trying to make it real, emotionally connected to the audience as you can, and I think that's missing.
I agree completely. It's more about just putting out what they want and not really caring if they insult the audience's intelligence.
Pretty much. It's pretty much like a segmented type situation now, where they judge how well things go over by each segment, each instant reaction. An overall program that might be laid out for several months or even a year or so. It's different things than developing something like that and then creating suspense and making fans want to know what's going to happen next, instead of setting them in on the tamale, all at once. So there's a difference in that. I don't really enjoy it because of that. That's really my biggest drive.
Makes sense. Now, the next question is, in the past, Gary Hart has said that as far as Texas wrestling goes, everything had to go through the Dallas booking office. That Paul Boesch didn't have his own talent, that Joe Blanchard didn't have his own talent, that it was all because of the Dallas booking office. you know.
Yeah, that's at one point the NWA's booking office in Texas was out of use, RC, and there was kind of a power struggle back in the '60s, and Chris Von Erich was involved, and eventually he overcame or came out on top of that power struggle. So the booking office for the NWA was in Dallas. So all the promotions that ran in Texas actually technically went through the Dallas office. Amarillo did their own thing. Blanchard did his own thing in San Antonio when he finally broke off down there, and Paul Bosch did his own thing in Houston. But technically they were supposed to go to the Dallas office. And Gary Hart was the head of that for a while. But there was Paul Bosch was always a little different because he would put guys from all different parts of the country and all different promotions and organizations. Gary told me several times he drives me crazy. That's the way it was set up and the way it actually came to be. In practicality, was not always the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's one thing Gary said about Paul Bosch in the interview I watched, that he always liked to bring in world champions.
Yeah, Paul liked to have a bigger than life stuff, and he liked to bring in people from different organizations, different places. He'd go to Houston and say, see, at the time WWWL. Go with the W's out later on, but that somebody from there, or San Martino or somebody, and he may bring in Botwinkle or Gagne or somebody from AWA, or he may go to Memphis to pick somebody up, or mid South or Japan, Mexico, and he never knew. But they was a regular stop for the world class guys also. So that was kind of a catching point between Gary and Paul sometimes, because Gary was trying to put his guys over with that being a regular town for world class guys, Texas guys, and Paul wanting to incorporate all those other people involved. And it got to be kind of confusing for the booking office, but it was a boon for Paul Bosch because he presented a real unique and all-encompassing type of promotion.
Mm-hmm. It seems like it. So as far as Texas goes, there was Fritz in Dallas, Paul in Houston, Joe in San Antonio, and then the Funks in Amarillo, and then the Guerreros in El Paso.
Actually, the Funks in that was pretty much it. The Funks pretty much ran West Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, in the and parts of Oklahoma, and I think even in Nebraska, maybe even in Colorado, I'm not sure. But they all that part of the country, that was kind of the Amarillo territory. And then, of course, they had the territory in San Antonio later on that Blanchard ran. Houston was really not a territory; it was just a camp. That was part of the sneaky point between Paul and the Dallas booking office, because they really didn't run a territory. They just ran that little town and had TV there. And then, of course, Dallas had their towns that they ran regularly, and all of them building was spot shows between the regular big towns. So that was pretty much the main promotions that ran Texas.
Now, did you work for? Did you work for anybody other than Fritz, or?
Not on a regular basis.
Did you? So did you do spot shows for other companies in Texas, or?
Sometimes, yeah. You fill in where you can fill in.
Mm-hmm. I know I mentioned. I think I asked you this. Asked about this in a previous video. But how did the Japanese interaction come about in Texas?
Well, that goes way back. Actually, Dory Jr. was started that because he went to Japan and became very close to Pablo. It turned out to be his connection to the States as far as with American talent over there. And it turned into a situation where Pablo would send guys over here that were young guys that learned the American system and American way of doing things. So, that's how it really started. It kind of expanded from there. That, you know, a lot of the really big Japanese names in the early days, the 60s, 70s, 80s, a lot of those guys started in Texas, or at least they got a lot of their experience in Texas. Right.
Mm-hmm.
They'd send them over here and they'd get back to work and learn against some of the best. Guys like Kenju, those kind of guys that built their name over here, they went back to Japan and became stars there.
Yeah. Speaking of promotions, I would be inept to not mention Global Wrestling. Now, when Global Wrestling came about, that was after basically every territory in Texas went under, right?
Well, pretty much, yeah. Global started after USWA had come in, Security come in and take it over for a while. They had a disagreement with Honorary Brothers. They were business partners. Kevin took it back over for a while and tried to rerun World Class for a while. And then Global came in and had to see what happened. That's where all that started. Yeah, there was pretty much no other, at least no other major promotions going on in Texas.
Now, I know as for the, Gulf territory, where Bill Watts used to run, after the oil crisis, that territory basically dried up. Did the same thing happen in Texas after World Class?
Well, the economy hurt everything, not just Texas. That's happened historically everywhere you go. That happened in Japan back in the 90s. The economy was bad, and that's the reason why I quit going there in the late 90s. The economy has a big effect on the rest of it.
Mm-hmm.
Texas tied the wall to feel that there. So, as far as the Watts territory goes, he dropped the Mid-South name up to University name. His idea was to build a national company. He found a way to profit by getting out, and he did. So much profit. So, that was really more the reason that company tried anything else.
That's true. That's a good point. Would you say that the territories in Texas were in any way in competition with each other for talent or for viewers or anything like that, or was it just more local television where one didn't know about the other?
Well, there was a natural rivalry between all Texas promotions, and a little bit of discontent between them at times. There were times when Fritz and Blanchard didn't get along very well. There were times when we've already talked about Paul rubbed Jerry the wrong way, or Fritz the wrong way out of the way. The Amarillo territory, they were pretty cooperative, more fast department, but there was a little rivalry there also. They were, they like to pick themselves from the territory in Texas. So there was some natural conflict, I guess, between them. But as far as talent goes, most of them share talent. kind of moving in between here and there. It's like all the other promotions, other territories.
Mm-hmm. Would you agree with the statement that if it wasn't for the Dallas booking office, without the Dallas booking office, companies like Joe or Amarillo or Paul wouldn't have survived for as long as they did?
I don't know about that. They kind of got to a point where they were kind of on their own anyway. Blanchard had a spot on USA TV and lost that, and that's when Vince took over that spot.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people realized that, but that was actually Southwest Sports, or not Southwest Sports, Southwest Motion. Blanchard ran that spot on TV, and Bucks had their own thing going on, and then of course, like I said, Bosch was that single pound, and he had his own TV. I don't know that world class. I think the world class success with Hunter Eckler affected everybody because it brought a lot of attention to Texas. But I'm not sure that really is what propped up any of the other promotions. They were kind of independent on their own, doing their own thing. There were some interactions, but like all promotions in wrestling, start interacting with other promotions, it usually ends up some kind of conflict somehow. Somebody does this, the other guy wants that. It doesn't work out too well most of the time. I'm not sure the world class, other than the fact that the popularity of the Von Erich during that heyday period brought so much attention to Texas wrestling. Other than that, I don't look at that Texas wrestling.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you know why? Do you have any idea why Joe actually ended up losing USA Network? Was it ratings or?
Yeah, I mean there's a lot of stories about that. I mean, there's some stories about Bruiser Brody and going in and actually doing some things that kind of killed the territory on purpose, really. There's some things about just bad management, bad business decisions, that sort of thing. That's usually what the territory is. The economy, which has something to do as well. But at that point, they were kind of there's a weakness there, and Ben saw it, and he swept in and picked up that spot on USA. And
now I've heard around the period that we're talking about, since we're talking about the early to mid 80s, I also heard that around this time Cornette and the Midnight Express came to Texas, but they didn't stay very long because they knew they weren't going to be able to feud with the Von Erichs.
That had a lot to do with it. I think that was a big mistake. Chris didn't think that Dennis and Bobby were big enough to work against.
Yeah.
To me, it's kind of insane to think that was his excuse anyway. I think it was their incredible. It's been their natural thing to help prop things back up after the Freebird situation died down a little bit. He didn't allow that to happen. Stick around for him. The seating was there, and they just couldn't get over it.
Mm-hmm. Because, I mean, in my mind, Bobby's very comparable to Kevin, and Dennis was comparable to Kerry. Am I wrong with that?
Well, I mean, size-wise and looks-wise, there's some differences there, but that's what makes wrestling interesting. I mean, those guys are so good.
That's true.
The size.
Mm-hmm.
The size was irrelevant. What you do in the ring makes a difference. They weren't so much smaller than those guys that it would have looked odd. The technique and the skill that both of those guys had would have made the difference.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it would have been very interesting very interesting situation if they'd been able to work in the primaries. Certainly would have been a little different with the Freebirds. I mean, the Freebirds had Terry and Bam Bam, and had that big guy there. And of course, Michael was the flamboyant one, did not express the flamboyant one was the manager. And he didn't work in the ring. And Bobby and Dennis were both just kind of regular guys that just were incredibly talented. But, you know, that was the way one man saw it, but I saw it a different way, and I'm sure a lot of other people would too. But, you know, the guy with the power didn't want it to happen.
That's true. Speaking of the Freebirds, do you think that the Express could have worked with the Freebirds?
Well, absolutely. They can work with anybody. I mean, you're talking about two of the best tag teams in history. They're not Express incredible. I mean, you got guys that are that technically good, and I'm talking about any combination, whether it is Bobby or standard Bobby. Either one of those, you're talking about a top 10 tag team of all time, and put them in the ring with anybody. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And they're the same way. I mean, they were almost a perfect team. You know, for three guys and put any commentation in there and do just about anything and work with just about anybody. Yeah, absolute. That's been a moneymaker.
Mm-hmm. Well, now we move on to some names, or the usual part of the interview, where I go over some names and you give me your opinion on them. We mentioned Japan earlier, and I would be inept to not mention two names. I'll mention this guy first, Great Kabuki.
Not Kabuki. He was when Gary brought him in, a lot of people looked at him like, this is going to be your big monster. I mean, Kabuki's not a very big guy. Physically, not very big, and not particularly impressive as far as physical makeup goes. But once he put that stuff on and got in the ring and did that Kabuki thing he did, he was a scary monster. I mean, for a guy who was only like 5'8" or 5'9" or something like that, and a couple hundred pounds, he was a scary guy, and very impressive and very effective. So, of course, all you got to do is go back and look at it and you see how it got over. And he was a lot of fun to work with.
Mm-hmm.
I always enjoyed work with in Japan a lot. It's a different situation, not only in the ring, but he was actually a football player. He's just a funny guy. We had a blast working with him. And, just so over and so talented. He understood that gimmick so well. I can't say enough good things about it.
That's great to hear. The original dynamic duo, the one from Joe's territory. From Joe, the first one, Gino and Tully.
Oh, Gino and Chris. Is that who you're talking about?
No, Gino and Tully.
Gino and Tully. Oh, okay. Well, they're really not that much different from Gino and Chris, other than one guy was an English guy. Well, it wasn't. It's a great technician. Tully was a great technician and understood psychology about as well as English. And Gino was Gino. He had that great feel for things and that personality that you had to get heat. And they were a very, very effective tag team, just as he was Chris for their tag. Not really a whole lot of difference, other than Chris was a lot more athletic. Totally a lot more cerebral and a little bit more technical.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as how effective they were both. That was a great tag.
Now, just since Well, since I, for one, am a big fan of Gino Hernandez, I just wanted to know, when Gino was in a tag team, did his partner maybe, like, keep him out of trouble? Or was he in just as much trouble? Because I know he had his personal... Like, his personal demons with, you know...
Nobody could,
Oh.
Gino was going to find trouble. He lived the life. He was what you saw in the ring, the gimmick. He figured the life. Hung around with people that moved fast and lived fast, spent a lot of money, and that was him. That's what he was. And it didn't really matter what you could put him in there with the greatest baby face in the world. He still didn't think outside the ring. I don't know that anybody would control that. In fact, probably just the opposite. Probably had a lot, especially with, I'm not sure what you call it. I know with Chris, he had a lot of influence. Chris, not necessarily good influence. His personality was probably a little stronger in that respect. And so, if anything, he probably had more influence on the people that he worked with than they had on him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The next name is Yasu Fuji.
Fuji?
Yasu Fuji. Toru Yatsu?
Oh, Yasu. Oh, yes. I worked with Yatsu a lot. Really, I love him. He's a great guy. I worked with him after I worked with him over there. I actually helped him with booking guys over there in his own promotion for a while. He's a shooter. I mean, he was a guy that I'm not sure if he would have, maybe actually on the Olympic team or a medal or what. It was very, very well known and as a wrestler shooter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so he's a real easy guy to work with. Tough guy, very tough guy. And another one of those guys that I really liked a lot personally.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of a booker, how about Dirty Dick Slater?
I only got to work with Dick a little bit. I worked with him in Germany one time, and I went over there and actually did a heel gimmick over there. I didn't cheat. I didn't do anything that I wouldn't have done in Texas as far as in the ring goes. I had a lot of Germans mad at me while I was over there.
Mm-hmm.
And Dick came up to me one time and he said, I sure wish you were my manager. And I thought, I'm not going to make more money doing that if I done that. Dick Slater was a tough guy. He was along the same kind of lines with Dick Murdoch. So talented, almost too talented sometimes for his own good, because he did just about anything in the ring and make whoever he's in the ring with look as good or as bad as he would. Dick was the real deal. He was the real deal. He's a very, very skilled and psychologically sound wrestler, and very much like a Dick Murdoch.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I know we grazed over their names, but how about the Funks?
Well, I didn't get to work with the Funks a lot, but the influence they had in Texas and I mean, we're both obviously world champions. What can you say? They're both technically incredible, but different personalities. One would be a lot more serious, a lot more traditional technical wrestler. And Terry was out there. He was very. I mean, even when he was more serious wrestling and WA more champion, he was the one to pick, and that was just his personality. Saw him, a couple months ago at the Hall of Fame, and thought he's a great guy, super guy. The story's the way that Terry's a little easier, a little bit more outgoing, a little bit more people friendly, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
You can just the influence and the historical value they had. Texas everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Great family.
Yeah. As far as the legacy of Texas wrestling, do you think that do you think what the territories left behind is still alive today? Like the lineage that was started by the territories?
But it was for a long time. I mean, there's still some influence there, and obviously, I think the way that the Texas promotions ran their business, the way they presented the product. A lot of guys coming out of Texas still have that I guess that pride. I don't know if it comes from going back and looking at those kinds of tapes, or their parents growing up with that kind of influence, or what. A lot of the young guys that I work with nowadays, Texas, they still kind of have that Texas attitude.
Mm-hmm.
I'll get in the ring, we'll wrestle a little bit, we'll fight. And that's kind of how it is. And I think that may have more to do with just the state of mind. They say Texas state of mind, and I think it has more to do with that than it does with any kind of wrestling here.
Mm-hmm. And now we reach the point of the interview where it's up to you. Any, appearances that you're upcoming or shows you want to hype up here? It's yours.
Yeah, I've actually been kind of pretty close to home this summer. I've kind of taken, not totally taken it, but I haven't taken it to the booking this summer as I wanted to. I've got a couple of things, a couple of big stuff to do, and then in September I'll start getting back to the level. I'll be going back to Tennessee, so nearly all of it's NWA stuff.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I'm really looking forward to is in October 15th, we'll be opening up a brand new promotion in New York City. So NWA Big Apple. I'm really looking forward to that. That's going to be an exciting thing for us. I think it's going to really, I think it's going to really take off. And I'm going to be right with that.
That sounds awesome for the NWA. Well,
I'm just doing what I'm doing. Nothing special. I'm going to try to take a little time this summer to finish up that second book and get that out there before the first year. So we'll see how that. If I can find the time and to do it, just find a way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like it.
Mm-hmm. Well, that sounds great. I thank you for joining me again.
Enjoyed it.
And if you watching and enjoyed it too, leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel for more content just like this that you can only find right here at Wrestling Express. Till next time.